Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it is really a pleasure, as always, to be back with you here on the program as we bring you new paradigms for a new world, choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., and we are streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. We podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many other. Okay, the list is just ridiculous. But hey, I got to tell you where we are. We're also on YouTube. That's another place we are where you can watch these interviews. And you can look at our bright, shiny faces as we talk about the things that we talk about here on this program. If you'd like to support the work we're doing, we would greatly appreciate any financial support you can offer. We have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And we also ask that you spend some time, and I think we'll be talking about this a bit too, going within to that quiet, still, calm, peaceful place and listening to that still, small voice. And with that, we have a returning guest, a beautiful singing voice, a musician, if you will. I like to consider I've tried the violin, the piano, the baritone. I have my late father's harmonica, which I'm playing around with, but the best one I got is my voice. So to that end, we're going to talk with a woman who has a beautiful voice. You've heard her on our program before, and her name here on the program, her name is Kaliyani, a.k.a. Jane. Is it Jur or Gur? Gear. Well, Kaliyani is how we're going to know you, who you are. She is a spiritually inspired visionary, and as a producer, artist, and founder of the Stargate Alliance Films and Media, she hopes to inspire humanity through offering alternative visions, information, empowering tools for self as well as for the global soul transformation. And it's wonderful to have you here. And today we're really going to dig deep into the life of Kaliyani. And I guess we could start, I suppose, in the present day where you are today and work backwards. But if we can, let's start from the beginning. I mean, obviously, you and we both came into this world the same way, but we both had different paths. Tell us when you knew about your path.
Well, if we're going to start from the very, very start, my earliest memory, conscious memory of self was in the crib when my mother was teaching my sister to pray and do the sign of the cross. She was 2.5 years older than me. And I was just looking at it. And every night she would go there and spend that special time with her. But she wouldn't do it to me. So, I was probably maybe one. I'm watching her and I'm not understanding. I don't understand the difference between my sister and I, or that there is a difference, So I started to cry one of the nights because I felt I wasn't special. I wasn't special enough. Why wasn't she doing that to me, And so I started to cry, and she comes over to the crib and I grab her hand and I smear it on my face. I love telling that story because I feel like I knew that there was something unique and special and something mysterious that I felt really left out from. And when she started, so she laughed and giggled and she held my hands and she was doing, like the long sign of the cross, like it's mostly, Europeans and Catholics that do that version. And my mother is Portuguese. And she taught us to pray from a very young age. Every night she would sit by our bed, me and my sister, and we would pray 4, 5, 6 prayers. She taught us every single prayer that she knew. But she did not take us to church because even though she grew up going to church and confessing almost daily sometimes, because the church was right in front of her house in Portugal. And she, when she was 22, I think she was 22, 20, in her 20s, she read a book about the Holy Inquisition, and she was completely shocked, and she said, I do not want to be a part of this. I just can't. And she vowed to never, attend church services. It was her feeling in her heart, but the power of prayer was what she impressed on us. And for some reason, for me, it catapulted me into this curiosity about God and spirit and the true nature of reality, looking at things behind the veils as I started to grow up. And even as a child, barely learning how to write, I started, sometimes I would write like mystic poems, and my mother would get a little scared. She would look at me, And at around 12, 13, I read the whole collection of Khalil Gibran that my mother was a big fan of. And I actually have it. My mom, before she passed, she started giving me things. So she brought me her collection. You can see this is, in Portuguese. Actually, this one actually is not the, I thought I had picked up the right one. No, this is an old version, but so I read that collection, and from there I just, continued to investigate. And on my birthday, around 15, she said, what did I want? 15 is a big number in Brazil. Like, you have like this debutante kind of party, right? I wanted to become a member of a book club. I just wanted to put my hands in mystic writings and spirituality. I was getting a lot of downloads, and that was my nature. It was just my nature. And I read Barbara Ann Brennan, Hands of Light, at around that age. And I was becoming aware of the true essence of existence being energy, right? The auric fields and healing, hands-on healing. And I read Eric von Daniken, this one. See, the God of the God.
Oh, beautiful.
The gods.
Yeah.
Oro dos Deuses. This is in Portuguese. So this is from the 80s. So you see, like, this is the kind of stuff I was diving into, like ufology. I had a whole collection of UFO, and today what we know compared to that is like, a joke.
Yeah.
But really into spirituality, and, I visited all kinds of temples and religions, and I wanted to taste but not be grasped by it. It was almost like, I want a taste of it, and I want to feel what is resonating. It's almost like I was trying to find an unifying point where all those faiths would merge, because intuitively I had a sense that there was something really wrong with what was going on in the world, and the division, the judgment, the separation. And in my heart of hearts, I knew that there is only one truth, that there is, that all this division is not needed, it should end. And this was my quest to find the truth, right? Truth is relative, but in, my young mind, I was like, I am going to search until I find. And I studied everything, everything occult they could possibly imagine. And then I started doing hands-on healing on people, casually, and anybody that would come and visit my house, that if they had a headache, I would remove their headache. Doing mesmeric passes, just putting my hands over their heads. And, I had learned and studied, and I believed that I could. So it actually works, until I was about 16, and my mother took me to a hairdresser to have a haircut really far away. It was a friend of hers. from high school. They had this beautiful hair salon, but it was in this fancy part of town that we didn't live in. I was born low middle class, actually. It's a lot of things that that's one of the things people don't know about me. And we go there, and she's taking a long time to come down, and, from the office upstairs. And she apologized profusely when she comes, the hairdresser, and she says she has a terrible migraine. So my mother, in the middle of the salon, everybody's sitting and waiting, just says, well, Johnny can take it away. Right, Johnny? Because my name in Portuguese is pronounced Johnny. My non-music name, right? So she said, Johnny can take it away. And I sunk in the chair. I said, Mom, don't do that. I was paralyzed because I did that spontaneously to friends and my mother's friends and anybody that came to my home. But now she puts me in a public place. I'm about to get a haircut, and all these people were looking at me like I am an alien, like I'm a bug. And, I became super self-conscious after that. But I continued to do it casually because I was going to college and all of that. But I don't know, some of this may actually overlap with our original interview. But I'm just going to go step by step. I don't know if I told you this, but around 8.5 or 9, I had an out-of-body experience. Like, I was a very active child as well, and it was very unusual for me to just in the middle of the afternoon decide to go and lay down on my bed. And I felt like something was just guiding me. I just went to my bunk bed. I had a bunk bed. And I laid there and I looked into the ceiling. I was on the top bunk, and I saw, I started to see through the ceiling and see the sky, the starry sky, as if it was nighttime, even though it was the middle of the afternoon. So I'm seeing the universe, right? And then my little mind is just asking this revolving question: show me what was there before what's here now. A curiosity about the past, right? That was something that I was carrying in my soul. And my body, I just felt I could see the planet, getting smaller. I was leaving the earth, right? In a sense. So I saw the planet really green, like really, really like a big giant broccoli, like much more vegetation than we have today. And as I pulled up more, this question showed me before, and I started to see the planets like in our solar system, from what I remember today. And then moving farther and further away, getting smaller, everything like getting smaller, then some of those planets started to disappear. I say they started to pop, right? Yeah, show me before. So the planets started to disappear, and then I was looking at galaxies far away, and the galaxies started to disappear. And I kept, this rotating question, show me, what else? And pop, everything was gone, and I am sitting there in the middle of this black darkness, right? It's complete. I wasn't afraid. I was just like, well, this must be where God is. This is the thought in my mind. This must be where God lives, right? But I was there alone, and there was nothing else around me. And then, of course, in my innocence, because I didn't have, I was young, I had not been imprinted with religious dogma, especially because my mother didn't take me to church. I was not afraid to exercise my curiosity, and I said, show me before God. I said, show me what was there before God, right? Just I was completely surrendered to this state, and just enjoying all that I was experiencing. When I asked that question, I was pulled back into my body at fast speed, like I woke up from a nightmare. I just sat up in bed like this, and my heart was pounding, pounding, pounding. And I opened my eyes, and I couldn't remember anything. I didn't know who I was, where I was, that I had a name, that I had a mother. I didn't know what mother was. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what that was. I was in my bedroom. I didn't know what a bedroom was. There was absolutely nothing I could remember. It was a complete devastation of my conscience and just loss of identity that I came to understand much later, what they call a loss of identity. And I was so terrified. I was there, paralyzed. People say, well, when you have this experience, it should be blissful. And like, no, there was nothing blissful about it. I was terrified. And eventually, I don't know if it was half an hour, 1 hour, I found my way down from the bed, opened the door, ran through the kitchen, down the staircase to the street, because I lived in an apartment building. And I started running, just running. I had a sense that something was not right, because it was like I had amnesia and I wanted to remember something. Mm-hmm. Even without consciously thinking I want to remember. I just was panicked. I didn't imagine, if somebody erases your memory of self and puts you in a completely different place that looks completely different than the reality you've ever lived in your life. It's like this. You're just, everything felt off, and something was off. So I was running. Eventually, the memory started to come back. I think I remembered my mother first, and then my name, and my grandmother, who was, my mother worked every day. And I was raised basically by my grandma until I was 14, and my mother started staying home. But it was a shocking experience, and I was terrified, and I was afraid to tell anybody, because I just thought they would think I'm crazy and they would lock me up or something. I didn't think anybody would ever believe me. So, mm-hmm. And I was so terrified, because I thought I lost my mind, that I just wanted to forget it. My biggest commitment is I will never think about this again. And I stuck to this memory. And it wasn't until I did my master's program in spiritual psychology that I was able to dig this memory out again.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to talk more about that as we continue. We're talking with Kaliyani, and she's a wonderful musician. Our first interview, we embedded many of the songs, not only in the radio and the podcast, but also embedded them into the video cast that you can find on YouTube. And we hope that you will do so as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. We're talking with Kaliyani, and we're first of all, I have to say that your non-music name, as you put it, Janae, I like that actually much better than Jane. Jane is so plain. Portuguese. I know it's Portuguese. I don't know any Portuguese. I barely know any Spanish. I can count.
I think your mic is clicking on and off because you came in and out.
Well, then we're going to have to work on that. That's better. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's continue on here. I can sort of attest to this feeling of bewilderment, especially in your experience, and I want to have you talk more about that as far as the out of body experience that you had. The closest thing to a childhood insanity that I came, when I was 7 years old. First thing that happened was I was sitting in Mass. We went to church for quite a while until I was 16. And I'm sitting there blinking, trying to have two identical blinks. I don't know why I felt I needed to do this. Needless to say, as I began trying to do it as fast as I could, it finally dawned on me that I can never do it because everything is in motion, not only in my body, but in the universe. Then the second thing was, you're familiar with deja vu experiences, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I had a day that every time I seemed like I turned around, there it was again, another one and another one and another one. And I thought I was going to go nuts. It's like, wait a minute. Okay. The one or two times I've been here before, I know I've never been here before, but I feel like I have. But 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 and 15 times in one day. And I'm thinking, I think I'll just give up. um, have you had an out of body experience since then? And the first one sounds to me like it was sort of accidental.
Mm-hmm.
But I know people who do it intentionally because it's what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had instances where I feel my spirit, like if I am in a state of meditation laying down, I feel my astral body kind of going like this, and then it spins and it goes up, but I actually, as an adult, have not welcomed the experience. So yeah, I don't think, unless you're talking dream time, where I feel like I am in my astral body a lot. In dream, I've been in very unique places like the moon. And other interesting places inside spaceship I've been. And I know, in other dreams where I am not walking, I am gliding, and those dreams, I know there's a quality to them that feels more than just a regurgitation of the last week or the troubles that you're seeing symbolism for, because I've studied a lot of dream interpretation as well. And they have a completely different quality to them. They're very unique, and they don't have the psychological aspect of it's a very clean and clear film that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no spontaneous, no like conscious, like I'm going to project now and go, because I know a lot of people can do that. Yeah. And I read a lot about astral projections growing up, as well, because
It's interesting because, you make reference to the astral body and, of course, the dream time when we're quote unquote asleep. Our eyes are closed and we are not really, you're not really conscious of the outside world. We are now diving into the inner world, so to speak. And I find that in those spaces, in talking with many people on this program, those can be very insightful times, if you will, using that word loosely, for us, learning times, inspiring times. Not, and I know there's some people who will have nightmares, things of this nature. But even in those, there is still something to learn.
Mm-hmm.
What can you share from maybe not your experiences, but maybe from the work that you do, in working with people to try to help them to maybe understand some of these things that they are experiencing?
Can you reframe your question?
When you are working with people, they come to you with various conditions, usually emotional or psychological, those kinds of things, because there are traumas, there are experiences that they have had that manifest in their dreams. And they want to get through this because they don't want to be carrying this stuff around, the baggage, as it were. Mm-hmm. How do you help people to leave the baggage at baggage claim, so to speak, so that they can move on and maybe find their purpose for their life and live a more fulfilling life, a more on purpose life?
Mm-hmm. Well, every case is a different case, but one a simple, tool that can be used for any case is to move towards what gives you joy, what makes you come alive. And, a lot of people are experiencing tremendous conditions that are, abuse and poverty and depression, feeling a sense of lack, or whoever's going through, there's a lot of trouble in the world. And one of the hardest things to understand, people are looking for the answers in their mind. How do I snap out of this state? How do I heal? How do I in my training in the 13 Moon Mystery School, there's a beautiful process that is just go into emptiness presence, because you are not going to find the solution from a mental state. You have to actually surrender, you surrender. It's the way of the feminine. It's feminine alchemy. So you surrender and, empty your mind and just let go of your thoughts and be in empty presence. In that empty presence, the more empty you become, the quicker the answers will come to you, and they will come in form of an image or a feeling or an idea that will just kind of like feel like miraculous. How did I not think about this before? But for as long as you're in your head and regurgitating thought patterns that were passed down to you from your family generation, be what it is, your country, community, your trauma, gave you these belief systems that are not real. And you're constantly thinking you're not good enough, or, whatever it is, you're not worthy, or you're never going to get out of this condition, or you deserve it, whatever it is, you are not going to be able to shift. But when you shift from the inside and you empty your mind and you move towards what gives you joy in whatever form, even if you can add, even if you, like some people are, living in poor conditions and they have children and, it's chaotic. But if you can find a moment in the day where you do the one thing that brings you joy, even if for 1 hour, 30 minutes, and dedicate that to yourself, you're going to shift internally. And also practicing empty presence, the world outside of you that looks so chaotic and abusive and sad or aggressive will shift. When you shift inside, the world will magically shift outside, and it's a hard thing to understand, but only trying and practicing. It's about raising your frequency vibration. You have to take time in the day, every human being, to do a little something like that, and things will slowly move. It's hard to get out of that,
Yeah. Hard to get out of that mindset, that we've actually found ourselves trapped in, that we've been programmed. I was going to say indoctrinated with, but it's more programming that we receive, and it's not. At a lot of times, it's not malicious. It's just what our parents have known, and it's all they know to pass on to us until we find a way to break through. And we want to talk about a little bit more of that, but we also want to talk a little more about your musical experiences as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. We're talking with Kaliyani and the music and the work and her life. And you were sharing with us, of course, your early days, especially in terms of your spiritual experiences. When did you first realize that you had this musical gift?
Wow, this was much later in my life, which was like it was about, I don't know, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. It came very late, and it came from this it didn't come from a desire to sing and make people happy. Or I actually was not trained musically. I don't play any classic instrument, or I play some drum and Native American flute, but this also came later in my life. I was not musically trained, even though I played some piano when I was very young and like 9, 10, but dropped out. And, family circumstances were very chaotic at that time, and a lot of hardship, a lot of suffering. I lived with my grandpa, and he had cancer, and a lot of sadness around that time. And my mother couldn't keep up. She had to take his job, and in the store, and she was very young. And so, yeah. So I just, it came from this, it's very hard to explain, because my journey with the divine feminine is what awakened the voice within me. And this has to do with healing from trauma through, my process at USM. I'm always, I all my life constantly seeking this direct connection with spirit. I don't know if you know Self-Realization Fellowship, but I
Yeah,
also...
very much. Matter of fact, my metaphysical primer is Autobiography of a Yogi. I read probably when I was 16, and I've read it hundreds of times.
Yeah, isn't that such a gorgeous book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think I need to go back to I was married 16 years to someone who considered himself an atheist. He was a child of a Jewish and Christian marriage. So his mother was Christian, his father was Jewish. And I saw a lot of pain and suffering in his eyes. And when he would tell stories of his father crying over letters coming from Germany in Brazil, where he would find out that his brothers, nieces and nephews, wives, had been killed in concentration camp in Auschwitz. And his father was the oldest, and he was the one who left Germany early. So he got caught between, and in the end he decided that religion, was to blame for most wars, and that it's pointless and has created more death than any other crisis in the world, and war, and etc. And he didn't understand. I came from a completely non-religious background. I had dozens and dozens of books on spirituality, Allan Kardec, and you name it, Kabbalah and numerology. I explored everything, and everything to me it was just fascinating. I was fascinated. And life after death, a lot of books on the astral realm and beyond. I had not ever learned anything about Asian philosophies, which is very interesting. And I'm actually happy it happened this way, because it was a lot of Western mysticism, and healing and things like that. But at the end of my marriage, I was married for 16 years, when I saw everything was crumbling down, there was no way to save it. I felt this, desire to pray again, because I think we talked about this on our last interview.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wanted this specific prayer, and I got this prayer from home. I called home, and I did not know it by heart. It was very long. It's called Caritas. And I did that prayer, and that's when, this goddess started to appear to me, and in my dreams, and in serendipitous ways, and so many little circumstances and dreams. And I came to find out that she was Kuan Yin, the Bodhisattva, right? So that kind of, I feel, catapulted me towards, this healing journey and this progressive understanding of reality, and my calling to help women awaken their the divine within them, and become a vocalizer, So I went to USM, and after USM, I did the 13 Mystery School. I did 2 years of training to become a vocalizer of sacred circles, and some of them are co-ed. I haven't done just male circles because that was not my training, but I do mostly feminine embodiment circles, which is women need to be reinserted into the context of spirituality, especially in their divine authoritative position, because most of the world religions for eons have excommunicated them from that position.
Oh, yeah.
So that is the work that I came here to do. And my music is also some aspect of that reflection. Even One Earth, which is not like Namu's Invocation, Tears for Nana. It is about Gaia, Everybody likes to refer to the planet as the mother because it generates so much life, right? Archetypically speaking, the earth is also a feminine entity, right? That's what we're told. And so it is, even in that sense, which is a new way for me to come out as a singer and singing in English, but that the vocalizations that I had before were coming from this place of love for Divine Mother that cannot be expressed in words, and it felt like more like a transmission from her heart into me, so that I could deliver her transmission. That's how it feels to me, the Namu's Invocation and Tears for Nana. Yeah.
Kaliyani is my guest here on the program, and you folks are enjoying this conversation. We're going to hear some of her music here in a little bit, but we want to remind you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it is really a pleasure to have you back with us here, Kaliyani. First of all, what is the meaning of the name Kaliyani?
Kaliyani, that name came to me in a meditation in my garden. I was meditating, and I had been asking Spirit to give me a name because of my ex-husband at the time and his name and everything, and he's no longer with us. But at that time, I wanted to respect his privacy, and I knew I was going to come out publicly with a song. And also, Kaliyani is an offshoot of all that I carry, and it's the poet, it's the priestess, is the one that is not so involved in the day-to-day grind, and that energy I felt like needed to be like, it's like, Sting. Sting is not born Sting. His mother didn't call him Sting. Probably Sade is not Sade. I don't know. A lot of people choose an artistic name to separate them from the history, the rest of the history and whatever that entails. I shapeshift sometimes when I do in production. People still call me Jane because they met me before Kaliyani came out. So I allow they to coexist happily. But, anyway, I got sidetracked. What was I going to explain to you? What was the question?
Well, we were talking about the meaning of
the meaning,
the name.
yeah. So it came on meditation, and I ran to the computer I said, what is this? And the first thing I did is like, what is? So I learned that it's an Indian name, and it means auspicious, the one that brings gifts. It means beautiful. It has a lot of different meanings. Kaliyani is connected to the left-hand path of Hinduism. And Sundari is the triple goddess. It's also, I think, because that's the second name, it came out as Kaliyani Sundari. I only use Kaliyani because it's easier, but so very interesting because yeah. Gift of the universe just dropped in like that.
Absolutely. And I know there are a lot of folks who have changed their names or added or what have you, different things of this nature. My wife did the same thing with her given name and changed it legally to the name that she has now. I almost did that with my name. But even to this day, now that and it's funny how I knew that I was named after my father.
Mm-hmm.
His middle name was Richard. My middle name was his first name. And at his memorial, as I began my remarks, I actually introduced myself as I am Richard Les Dugan. I'm in the first male. I was named after him. And I take that, I don't take it lightly. So I don't think that I would change it at this point, especially now knowing what I know and having been with it for 63 years. I mean, hey, why change now? Why mess with a good thing? We're talking with Kaliyani, and we want to talk more about the work that she does, helping people, supporting people, encouraging people. As we continue here on Tell Me Your Story, I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I am so grateful for the time that you are giving us here on the program to talk about your life. When you are writing, and I take it you do write your music. I take it that you have maybe a special place, a certain period of time, or take whatever time you want, kind of thing, in terms of creating the different types of music that you create. I don't want to ask the question, what is your process, but what is there anything in particular that you do that facilitates the writing of the pieces that we will be listening to here on this program? And if we go to YouTube, for example, or we go to Spotify, what's sort of the core of the music that you write?
Every song is different, and there's only one common element to creating each one of them, and it's a special place. But it's not a special physical place. It's a special inner place, right? It is a special place. It's a special place internally, right? It's a feeling driven by the love of what you're doing, the message that you are given, not being motivated by material things or outside things or what you could gain from it, which is where most people are, because it's a struggle just to live and be alive and be here and survive and deal with all the turbulent matrix, but there's a special place inside of us, and this is a place of love. And when you connect to that special place, your frequency rises, and whatever you're meant to deliver will come to you. And you could say that is divine intervention, or just you open a bigger size of your brain that is connected to your heart, that's weaving the creation, as it comes through. So yeah, it is a special place. It's a special inner space, right? But I can be in the garden, I can be in the bathroom. I actually created a song just getting ready to leave on a trip for to the Bay Area, and it was 5:00 in the morning, and the song just came through me. I actually have not released that. It's like a shamanic in Native American chant. It's very simple. It's just very drummy, and like it's just, yeah. And I play the flute in it. I already recorded it. My plan is to make a short video for it and release it. It's just very heart-filled. It's just pure chant and vocals. And
so when people listen to your music, are they getting a deeper insight into Kaliyani? If they're really listening.
I don't think they're necessarily getting an insight into me. They're getting an insight into the universe within them. And I've had people cry in front of me listening to Namu's invocation. I've received letters saying the song changed their lives, that they now see better, that they hear it every morning, that they use it in their ceremonies, that they, and I've had people really moved in front of me. One of the reasons why I released Namu's invocation, because like I told you, I was not planning on being a singer. It's completely accidental. I created that for a documentary I wanted to create on the divine feminine, right? And I told you last time we talked how powerful music is the soul of any film, anything created imagery, right? That moving image need to come alive with sound. And to do justice to this film, and I when I did Secrets of Love, which is a documentary on loving relationships as a catalyst for soul's evolution, we came across, the reality of licensing music, how expensive it can be. And I thought I won't even try to create a documentary unless I have the music. So the music became the focus, but it was driven by this love of Divine Mother and this passion that I was carrying in my heart to make the awareness of her existence shine brighter in everyone's consciousness, with reverence, and the proper understanding of it. So that song came through, step by step, And I tell you, there's one quality that most people, it's not talked about in spirituality as, everybody talks about love and truth and authenticity and gratitude. But there's one quality that without which you're not going to manifest your dreams. It's courage. And each thing that I have done in my life required me to step into my courage and face my fear and not let my fear rule over my life, which it's fundamental, I couldn't say.
One of my guests said once that the spirit world, the entities on that side, if you will, look upon us, the humans that are here today, as heroes because we have chosen to be here at this particular time in what I guess we could use the term human history. Do you think there's really anything special about us humans who are here now, the spiritual beings living in physical body, that because of the things that are going on in the world today, that warrant us being referred to in that way and being honored in that and having that kind of respect given to us? I mean, I can tell you that, it's been on and off throughout my life, but I've been doing my damn work, no one else can do it for me. I'm really trying to make myself a better person, but always reminding myself, look, you're making yourself better tomorrow than you were today. That doesn't mean that today you're not a good person. You're not a better person. It's just there's always room for improvement. What are your thoughts about those of us who are here on this earth today, and our role to play in the universal play, shall we say?
The first question is like, who's your friend? I want to meet him, because I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Who is the guest? Introduce me, because I constantly say this. We have been programmed to believe we're worthless and we'll never, forget about, we are born from sin and all of that. The program is deep. And the chaotic, traumatic kind of experiences we were exposed to through war, and whoever is creating this matrix, or we have co-created it, has created so much trauma. This trauma has hindered our understanding of who we are. We are actually stewards of the 3D experience, and I always say, without 3D, there's no 4D, 5D, or 6D. We are fundamentally important. Okay, I'm getting chills now coming down. If we were to erase the program, we would understand how important we are. We are living at the bottom of our capacity right now due to wrong belief system about who we are. Actually, we need to reform that. We need to, if you grew up with somebody saying to you from birth, you are nothing, you're never going to amount to nothing, you're despicable, you're a horrible human being, you would end up becoming all of that. Because, if everybody's telling you you're that, then you must be. But if somebody, while you're growing up, says you're a wonderful human being, never forget your light, you are here in this world, you're here to do miracles, you're here to enlighten humanity, you're here as a master, your work is important, don't ever allow anybody to tell you anything different, you would walk with your head held high, and you would start to feel it. And this is not what we were told. This is not what we were told. And we have to remember that. Do not ignore that you are a byproduct of intense amount of trauma and program to make you small. That has made you small and easily manipulated. It's time we start to understand in the complex multiverse that we are proud, heroic, courageous stewards of this 3D reality. Without 2D, there's no 3D. Without 3D, there's no 4D. We can't evolve. We are part of the chain. And yes, we're heroes. I tell, my circle when I am facilitating, and even outside of it, tap yourself in the back because you chose to come here. This is not for the faint of heart. Just coming down is a major choice. Yeah, I couldn't agree with your friend more. Introduce me.
See if I can remember who it was. It's really fascinating. Yeah, and I remember my mother, she shared this with us when we were still living at home. I don't know if I was in my preteens or teens, but she shared with each one of us how special and unique we were. And I remember at the time when I found out that she had shared that with each one of us 6 kids. At the time, it seemed like it diminished, in my mind, it diminished that statement. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, no, it doesn't diminish it. It actually emphasizes it even more. There are 6 of us, and each one of us is unique and special in our own way.
Is that what she said? What would she say constantly or often?
That's what she would tell each one of us, that you are unique and special. But she would always tell it to us in private, one-on-one. Because I think she wanted to hammer home the fact that we as individuals, not just as a family, but as individuals, We were unique. We were special. We're here, just as you just described, to hold our heads high and to live and move from, as we've talked about on this program many times, move from survival. Enough with survival. I've had it up to here with survival. It's time to thrive. It's time to thrive. And we can do it right here and right now, but we have to work through those old beliefs, that old programming that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of fun to bring up the idea of pride, because pride has been looked down upon, and usually it's an egoic pride that usually gets people in the way of their healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there is a spiritual pride, and to walk with your head held high is a reflection of a spiritual pride, a pride related to how you carry yourself, how you honor yourself, how you respect yourself, and the level of authenticity you walk in the world, your connection to spirit, and to know your value, to know your contribution, no matter how small. It's fundamental. You came here to give your time, to learn, to share, to give lessons and receive lessons. And it's no matter who you are, what you do, you're part of the greater chain, the weaving of this reality. And you can do better things, even greater things, if you understand that the program that you were operating with can be eliminated and replaced with a new understanding of reality that you need to practice. If you have to fake it till you make it, as long as you're just telling yourself like a mantra,
mm-hmm.
I am a powerful being. I'm a being of light. I am honorable. I am worthy. And forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made. Mm. Forgiveness is liberation. It's freedom. Give yourself, there's a process at USM that's beautiful. We put our hands in our heart. I forgive myself for buying into the belief that I am ... Mm-hmm. And you can say that over and over again, and saying all the beliefs you had about yourself that are not real. And then you affirm the opposite. I am actually this, and that, and I love myself. And I forgive myself for all the ways in which I fell from it, because I was not in awareness of my truth, of who I really am. And I was afraid. And in my fear, I fell. That's why courage. Have courage.
Have courage. Have courage. Kaliyani's my guest here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. And Kaliyani, I want to ask you, as we come close to the end of this conversation that we're having, I want to ask you about not just the creating of your music, but also the creating of those pathways that help others, that facilitate others in their process of personal growth and development. I'm sure you've heard of the term being in the zone. It's more of a sports analogy, where an individual is having one of the most remarkable experiences of their career in one particular game, shall we say. Uh-huh. Now, it's not to say that after that game is over and they go on to continue to play other games that they're not that good, but in this particular game, they're in that zone. They're just on, and so forth. Mm-hmm. When you are creating, whatever it is you're creating, do you find yourself in that space, that zone, where time either stands still or just flies by, one of the two? You're just not aware of it. Okay. And the next time you look up, you're going, really? It's that late, or it's that early, or whatever. And what you have created for you initially, it has, you've created something that has a profound impact on you. And this kind of goes to what you just spoke of, the spiritual pride. I've had that happen where I listen to something, I'm going, Wow. That's amazing. I did that. Wow, that sounds very cool. I love that. I did one where I actually it brought me to tears. I couldn't believe that I had done that. But it wasn't an ego-centered pride. It was wow, that is amazing. I'm glad that I was used in this fashion. Do you find that in your creative process?
Yes, very much so. Yeah. And I like to say, of course, I am a part of this co-creation, but I always say, it's not mine. It came through me, but it's not mine. And in the beginning, when I released Nemo's Invocation, for example, I could not listen to Nemo's Invocation standing because my legs would buckle and I had to close my eyes. So I do find that some music is a real direct transmission. And my position was always one of humility, uh, because I felt the intensity of the energy that was pouring through and what it did to people, and I could feel the zaps through my body. And actually for quite a few months, if not even the first couple of years after Noma's invocation, I could not listen. I acclimated to it, I say, but the vibration coming through my body, it was too intense for me to stand up. I had to sit down and close my eyes automatically. It just happened automatically. I put it, because sometimes friends were like, I heard you made a song. Can I hear it? In the beginning, I had not released it. And I was like, okay. And I would put like the CD on and I would just immediately sit down, close my eyes, and I would find them crying when I open my eyes. Some of them would grab my arms and go like, look at me, say like, they couldn't even, So if your heart is open, it doesn't do that to everybody. But if you're open and you have a sense of connection with the divine and you allow the song to penetrate you, yeah, you will feel it move you. You'll feel it move you. And it did to me. And yeah.
And how is that experience different from performing this music live in front of audiences, people?
I've only performed live maybe 3 times. There was an event at a Agape International Spiritual Center. It was the end of 2012, December 21st, 2012, when they say the cycle ended, of one cycle of humanity ended and we started according to the Mayan calendar, right? The end of the Mayan calendar, technically. There was a huge spiritual event there, and there was a separate space outside of the main sanctuary where one of the priestesses of the 13th moon, a senior one, had created this beautiful environment like the womb. It's the first archetype of this of this work of Ariel Spilsbury, whom I love and immensely grateful for what she created. And I sang in that beautiful womb space that was created with a lot of love, and everything was a burgundy color and pillows, and it was very, very feminine and very nurturing, and there was about, like, I don't know, maybe 60 people in the room, and I sang Nemo's Invocation for the first time because they had heard it and they said, would you be singing that in that temple? And I said, okay. And that was the first time. And then I've sung in events in my house, but what happens is not very different. Of course, there's a little more mental space because you are performing and you have to perform correctly and you have to be on time and you have to enter the vocals at the so. But I always feel like this sense, of it's like a mantle that's coming over me, even when I sing. But when you listen, you're more relaxed. You don't have to have so much mental articulation, and that's why I like to sing without words, because words get in the way of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about, words have different meanings. Sometimes one word can be interpreted 5, 6 different ways, and your interpretation is different than his and hers. So you never know how your message is going to hit someone. Well, when you have pure tone frequency vibrations hitting somebody's heart, there is no mind space to be in, to interpret or think about and make storylines. It's an empty canvas, and you're receiving this transmission, and it hits you in a way that you can't put, words to it almost. And that's why people have cried listening to some of these songs. A lot of songs make us moved.
Mm.
And recently, an interviewer that I'm going to be interviewed by, that I love, T Love, she has her own radio show. She wrote a letter to me and my PR saying, I can barely type. My eyes are blurry. I can't believe it. And this is about One Earth. When she said, I read the lyrics when I received the press kit, or the press release. And I thought, wow, this is so timely and so beautiful. But she said, when I heard the song, she said, I cried the whole time. So, if your heart is in the right place, you're going to receive that. And my hope is that it will give you hope and make you want to contribute more, because you're so apathetic. There's so much sadness. People don't know where to draw inspiration from. And everything I do, I hope, will lift people up and make them believe in themselves and fuel their impetus to participate, because it gives them hope, it gives them possibility,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mean?
I often think of a lot of the various institutions that we have, and I often wonder, well, what is your end game? I mean, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And it is similar to this business that I've been in. There is no end game, because every day there's a new project, there's a new something to do, something to create, and so forth. And so in some of these institutions, it isn't about an end game as much as it is about just making things better. And that's what we're all about here on this program, giving people choices and knowledge of those choices to help make their dreams come true. And one of those choices, which is a wonderful addition to one's a library, if you will, is your music that can and make a huge difference. Has there been, because I've spoken with a number of people on this program about sound therapy and all of the different aspects thereof. Has there been any kind of maybe people who have, like this one talk show host who sent you this letter, others who have corresponded with you and said, hey, your music has impacted me and affected me in this way, that way, the other way. It's just amazing. I mean, it's like you don't need any research projects, to tell you that your music is having a great impact, a positive impact on the world through the people that are listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm.
And do you you just kind of take that in, because you really don't have any control over how it impacts people. All you can do is create it with what you're given to create with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what all of us do, everybody who creates anything, and
Yeah.
can't control what it does. You don't know what your show has done to people. It's wonderful when people actually tell you. I bet there are a lot of people who has been transformed, who love to listen to you, and who feel your own story, which I read and I know how beautiful it is inspiring. The fact that you overcame so much, transformed your life, and now you live in service. it's all we can do. We're inspired to do something, do and deliver. Sometimes you're gonna hear back, and a lot of times most people will not tell you how moved they are. They don't have time. They're just enjoying it, and they don't feel like it's, they have to. A lot of times things move me. I don't go type a letter to somebody. It happens because, in the moment, she had to write back and say, of course I want to have Kaliyani in my show. Oh my God. And then she took that opportunity to really pour her heart out.
Yeah.
And, when you have the opportunity, people should tell people who are out there creating positive change how important they are. It's important fuel for us to continue, because there's so much that can take us down. There's so much discouragement that happens just from life, from the matrix that we're trying to survive, navigate through the current, and
Exactly.
against the current sometimes, against the dark current, we gotta stand strong and say, no, you're not taking me down. I'm a spiritual light bearer, and I'm gonna continue to go on. You can't take me down.
Not gonna do it. 1,000 points of light. I have to say that was a pretty good concept, all in all. Kaliyani, I want to thank you so much. This has been incredible to have this opportunity to chat with you here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and Kaliyani. As we wrap this up, from the perspective of gratitude, I'm very grateful that you have chosen to offer yourself and the gifts that come through you to the rest of us, to help us to work out some of the things that we want to and need to work out in order to be, I don't know if the right word is fully human, but maybe fully spiritual in the context of, from my perspective, being of service, okay, in whatever way that I can. It's not always easy, but it's what I have to do. That's what I'm all about. And I know that's what you're about too. So thank you for the gifts that you bring.
Thank you, Richard. It was a pleasure, as always.
And I thank you folks for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. I'm going to ask you, Kaliyani, those 3 questions, that I asked you the last time. Your answers might change. You may or may not even remember the questions, but that's okay. But I want to thank you folks for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., and Wednesdays at 9 a.m. That's our special edition of Tell Me Your Story. We we stream live at richarddugan.com. We have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many other locations, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these interviews. I hope that you'll click notification so that when I post a new conversation, you'll know that it's there, and you can go there and listen to it and watch it if you'd like. And we certainly hope that you will go to our guest website so that you can find out more about the work that Kaliyani is doing. And it's just amazing the things that she is doing with the talent that she has. Kaliyani.com is the website, Kaliyani.com. We hope that you'll go there. And am I correct? It is an album, not just a song, called One Earth?
No, it's just a song.
Just a song, okay. There
One
are many other songs on YouTube, and you have a YouTube channel as well. We hope that they will look that up, and we will be linked to that website, by the way, so that people can find out more about what you are doing. We ask that if you can support this work financially, we would greatly appreciate it. We have a PayPal account. It's there for your security as well as ours. And when you go to PayPal and do that, they're going to ask you for the email address to whom to send the contribution. Richard@richarddugan.com is the email. Richard@richarddugan.com. We also ask you to spend some time during the Decade of Perfect Vision, going within, spending time in that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place, listening to that still, small voice. And with all of that said, first question to our guest: who is Kaliyani?
I think I remember that question. it takes a lot of courage to say what I say, but Kaliyani is love. Kaliyani is love fundamentally. In the world, I am a spiritually inspired visionary. Co-creating with spirit, whatever spirit calls me to do, I say yes. Mm-hmm.
What is your life's purpose?
Yeah, I remember that. I think, I feel it is to inspire and heal and help heal.
And finally, what was your best day?
My gosh. How about today?
Oh, there you go. Hello, Kitty.
Very snazzy.
Oh, my goodness. How beautiful. Beautiful.
My goodness, my best day. I think I said it was the birth of my daughter, which I was so mesmerized I couldn't sleep because I couldn't close my eyes. I was just staring at her the whole time for, hours. And yeah, and I feel, each day is an opportunity to be your best day ever, and I could not choose one. There's been so many extraordinary days other than that. Being in sisterhood, being a meditative circle, and being with my community in the garden, celebrating nature, celebrating planting trees, or, listening to the Invocation or Tears for Nana for the first time after it's produced and recorded and One Earth, like releasing each one of my music videos. All of those are best days,
Well, once again, I thank you so much for giving us this time, and we look forward to having you back again. And hopefully, the next time we get together, maybe you'll have some more new music.
Yes, definitely.
I'll look forward to that one that you're holding on to. And thank you again.
All right, thank you.
And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices and to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am listening. And Dad, I'm listening faster too, by the way. And Dad, continue to be happy.